Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the House of Hammers. We are fired up to get back into the CC podcast room with our usual crew. My co-host, Mr. Christopher Okoye. Before we get into our awesome guest today, we are fired up to have him here. Chris, give us some of the highlights from your weekend. Share a little bit about what you were able to get out and do.
Peace and blessings to the culture. Peace and blessings to the culture. Another amazing weekend.
Must have been a long weekend.
Oh, that's pretty long weekend. Got to go out and support the basketball team. Big first home win. Super excited for them. Stop by Apothecary. Don't forget, stop by, mention code Shamrock, get 10% off. Great vibes there. CC family is doing some amazing things, and super happy we can partner with them and continue to help them grow and scale. And we're just super excited, man. Guns loaded, guns blazing. Like, let's go.
Fresh off of the first Division I football state championship here at Catholic Central since 2009. Once again, before we get into our guest, great experience. Firm believer in roots, not fruit. And I told you before, I've taken that from a John Gordon book, The No Complaining Rule. And if you consistently take care of your people, any piece of fruit you want is attainable. Our coaches did a fantastic job with the kids this year at all levels. Loved them tough, motivated them, picked them up when they were down, made them believe in themselves, and special things happened. So shout out to Coach Sasante, the varsity football team, our captains, and a special shout out as three former linemen sit here to Big Benny, who had a thick six, as we've now begun to call it. Not a thick six, not a pick six. We call it a thick six. Okay. Benny rambled 60 yards, weighing in at about 320 pounds with some key blocks, but he carried that ball for every lineman, offensively or defensively, that has played the game of football. So it was a great experience. Over the course of our weekend, celebrated the basketball team, got some great fellowship in with our family, Christmas light experience, all the Christmas family stuff. But before we go any further, our guest today is a Michigan legend in a lot of different areas and a lot of different venues. He's a graduate of Clawson High School. He's a former captain for the University of Michigan. He's a 1997 national champion, started at right tackle for the Wolverines, got drafted in the second round by the Washington Redskins. He's friends with my cousin Eric, who's in the SWAT team in Livonia, just all kinds of little ties here to the Catholic Central community. But one thing that ties him to our community the most now is his son Jack, who is a freshman here at CC. And without further ado, legend, state of Michigan legend, Wolverine legend, NFL legend, now on 97.1, and just a legend of a servant leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Jansen, welcome to the House of Hammers.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank you. You obviously, Google did you well.
I did. It said a lot of things. You were at Michigan. You were known for your tenacity, your intelligence, your work ethic, something else. And
that sounds like chat, not Google.
No, that was in the bio. I was like, man.
Sounds like chat. All right. There.
Intelligence. Yeah. It did say intelligence too. I was like,
hey, when you're talking
athlete.
Offensive lineman, intelligence is part. It should be understood. Now, when you're talking defensive lineman, and that's where I get into debate with Jack, because I ask him after practice, "What'd you do today?" Oh, offense day, and every time he comes out after defense, he goes defense day, and he wants to be this dominant edge rusher. And I said, hey, that's great if you want to be known as a mentally challenged individual, you stay on the defensive side.
Oh, shots fired.
If you want, because you've seen the defensive playbook, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's one page, and it's written in crayon. It's got a picture of a football and an arrow that points to it that says, go get it.
You must have seen Hillsdale's defensive playbook. I only stayed there for 1 year on D-line and then smartened up and got to the O-line.
There you go. Yeah. So, as you know, it just takes a little bit more mental capacity.
Athleticism. Good looks.
Allegedly.
Yes.
But that's your favorite. I knew you were going to throw an allegedly out there.
Allegedly.
That is true, though. It does get a little more advanced over there on the offensive side of the ball. Chris, you would have been I told you for years, you'd still be playing if you played O-line.
Allegedly. No, I remember my senior year, I was starting both ways. Then we got to the corn roast. And I was like, yeah, this is not going to work.
You had too much flair for an offensive lineman. I tried to have, you can't really have too much, maybe a high sock every now and then, but no sleeves ever. I know you're
modern day. These old linemen be looking clean out there though. Trent, not Oxley. Trent Williams. Trent be clean out there, man. Trent be swagging.
Well, now everybody's concerned about their brand, right? Yeah. I mean, they're on social media. I mean, every game, every warm up, you got to post it to Instagram. You got the videos. You got all this stuff. So Yeah, there's a lot of prettier guys playing football.
Wasn't it nice when you could just play football?
Yes.
Just put the helmet on, get a couple workouts in, and go smash somebody. Now it's like, I got to post this. I got to make this graphic. I got to announce that I'm actually going to play 2 plays in the game. It's maddening.
I mean, honestly, like I remember I was kind of a part of like the great shift where I got a piece of old school, and then kind of like as my career kind of began to grow, get to see the new school, and it was crazy. I'll never forget. I believe it was like rookie minicamp or OTAs, and I was playing with the Bengals. We had an offensive lineman from Ole Miss. Once again, an offensive guard and nose tackle. I'll never forget, we were doing like one-on-ones, and he said, "Hey, bro, like chill out my chain." And I said, "Bro, like you're wearing a chain at offensive guard, and you expect me not to grab it?" I'm like,
Did he get cut or did he make the team?
He got cut. He was a draft pick, you know. Obviously, yeah, he had some character issues, some character flaws, but I think that's when it hit me that the game, because like, you know, receivers every now and then, they may have a little cross on something like that. But I'm like, an offensive guard, a left or right tackle, there's a little more space, perhaps. But you're a guard, like you're a mauling guard with a
chain?
With a chain on. Yeah. And they have the audacity, "Hey, bro, chill out my chain." Have you seen
the new trend in high school football that they're doing now? Shirts and ties underneath their pads.
Underneath your pads? Why?
Yes.
Why? How uncomfortable is that?
Well, think of it. Well, I don't shout out to all the kickers out there. Phenomenal group of people, long snappers, kickers, holders, whatever you do on the special team side.
People.
It's mostly kickers that are doing it.
Okay.
So they make the field goal or whatever, and then they tighten it up. So
yeah, I mean, have you seen the new trend in college football now where especially the kickers, they're basically wearing the Daisy Dukes?
They're all wearing them.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that this weekend too, watching some of the championship games, there was a left tackle that his pants barely covered the top of his knee brace.
They're 7-on-7 uniforms.
Yeah.
I wanted to cover myself as much as I possibly could, being 300 pounds and 6'0". So I didn't want any skin to show at all, not whatsoever.
Bulking up with extra padding.
That was it. Yeah, a lot of fraternity food and probably bad decisions. But one of the things we do on this show is called the 2-minute U, where we don't give anybody any warning or anything, and basically you have to describe what makes Jon Jansen tick and tell us who you are. And it obviously for you it would probably take 22 minutes. For me and Chris, full episodes of us just telling each other how great we are. But tell us about what makes Jon Jansen tick. What makes you who you are? What drives you? What motivates you? And a little bit about your why.
So where do I start? What makes me tick is competition. And when I was growing up, it was the competition to make varsity. It was a competition to get an opportunity to play at the next level, college football, college baseball, basketball. I didn't care what it was. In fact, I thought it was going to be a basketball player. I wasn't even going to play football in high school, let alone in college. I'll share that story another time. But it was a matter of competition, whether it was in the classroom, it was at football, and it carried over to the next level. And it carried over for me to the next level. And the competition for me isn't me versus you. The competition is always with the man in the mirror, because if I can be better than I was yesterday, I'm not worried about anyone else. I just have to be the best version of myself. I've yet to reach that. And so when I do, I know that there's nothing in this world, whether it's on the field, it's on the radio, it's at a podcast, it's whatever I decide to do next in my life. If I'm the best version of myself, then I can go to bed at night. I can be comfortable with myself, and I know that I'm going to be successful in whatever that is and whatever that means at that level. So that's me in a nutshell. It's all about competition. My why hasn't changed in a while. When I was young, it was always a matter of I want to give myself the best opportunity. My why now is I want to give my family the best opportunity, and that's the best opportunity to be safe. The best opportunity at great lives, whether it's my wife, it's one of my 5 children. I want them to have the same opportunities I have. I want to instill in them that vision and that competitive nature, because when they leave the house, I'm not going to be able to hold their hand. And comes a point where, hey, the hand holding is over. You're on your own. Have I given you the tools and the opportunity to be successful? So that's my why now.
It's crazy how fast that hand holding stops too. I mean, we've talked about it before. I mean, it's it's great to see Jack, who came to so many of our camps for so long, be a student here. It makes you feel a little bit older. I remember the first time we officially met, it was at the CC football camp. And I'm not big on, I definitely knew who you were, but I'm not big on, I like to let dads and moms just be dads and moms, especially when they've experienced success like you have and people know who you are. Like people are like, oh, Jon Jansen's here. I'm like, just leave him alone. Let him be a dad. Let him just chill out. So when we talked after and we introduced ourselves, it was pretty funny because I'm like, dude, I know exactly who you are. I mean, you're a legend in this gym, but where you talk about that competitive nature, do you feel like you were born with that, or who did you get that from? Who drove you to be that competitive?
I honestly, there are some things that I think you can develop and you can enhance. Competitive nature is something that you're born with and you can develop, you can enhance that. Toughness, I think, is something that you were either born with or not. But if you have it, you can develop more toughness, all of those different traits. And I think I was born to a great set of parents. And that was the maybe the best advantage I've ever had in life, is being born to a great set of parents. And my dad would always, whether it was softball, basketball, and it didn't matter how old we were. Now, me and my brothers, especially my older brother, we were always bigger. We were always taller. So we could be passed off as older. And he would, whenever he went to the men's league, he would take us with us. And I didn't care if I was 12 and you were 25. I wanted to beat you. And I wanted to beat you at that time because I wanted to tell you that you got beaten by a 12-year-old. And then when I got to 12, like the competitive always was always being developed, and it was the situations that my parents put me in. And then it was at school in regards to, hey, what am I doing to give myself a chance? Because growing up, and I know that it's a little bit different here because the competitive nature is instilled and it feels like it's developed for everyone. But where in Clawson, like there wasn't a lot of kids that went to play college football. There weren't a lot of kids that went to major colleges just for academics. And I wanted to give myself that opportunity, whether it was through sports or academics. So it was always being competitive with, all right, I got an A- on this one. How do I get an A on the next one? It was always being competitive with myself, not focusing it on another individual, trying to attain what they had. They had a different skill set.
I have seen you be competitive with other people where it isn't just you versus yourself. Like when you tried to out squat Michigan's lineman, that was about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on that story in a little bit because I know you're still recovering from the back issue that developed.
Oh, I'm back in the game.
Oh,
There we go.
Oh, I'm back in the game.
Here we go. Chris, I've seen you develop over the years. Not to get into squatting, but we did have a great squat conversation.
Yeah.
So Chris knows I'm a big title tank guy. As you get older, you start to fall apart a little bit. And you'll find out eventually as you're starting to fall apart. But for your competitive nature, I got to watch that grow and foster here, but you really took it to a different level. What made you finally decide, all right, this has to start clicking on a completely different level to put myself in the best situations that I want to?
I think one of the things we always discuss is I've never been a big like haters guy. I've always been big on like proving the people that love and believe in you right. And so when I would just hear about people that took a risk or that poured into me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, showed up for me each and every day, it was making sure that you guys had that ROI or that return on investment, not in a sense of like you guys, oh, you owe me this. No, but just making you guys proud. I think coming from a father who's a Nigerian immigrant and a mother who, worked multiple jobs, being from the west side of Detroit, showing my parents that the sacrifice, that they made to put me through this school, which you both know. I mean, it wasn't easy.
No.
There were times where my mother would freaking sit in here all day because I had summer school, and then we had west side. And back when I played here, we had workouts at like 6:30 p.m. So I would be here quite literally from like 7:15 to like 8, 9 o'clock at night during the summer. And it's just people that invested in you, giving them that ROI, showing them that the sacrifices that they made, right, them being selfless, it was worth it. And I do believe, my personal beliefs, that you owe that to people. And so that was always my biggest motivator, is being able to come back and be be able to talk about all the things that you did for me and how if you listen to Mr. Babicz, this is what happens, right? When I'm talking to my little sister, if you listen to Mom, this is what happens. I'm a very big proof of concept guy, and I really believe in like systems. And if you do the right things long enough, I believe that good things happen. And is that why I always talk about Galatians 6:9, right? Don't get weary in doing well, because in due season, you'll reap your reward if you faint not. And so I just tell people I'm simply a product of just fainting not, right? Just keep going, right? From getting signed, going undrafted, getting cut, getting reback signed, playing in other leagues.
Your agent passing away unknowingly.
Yeah, my agent passed away. And even when my agent passed away, still signing with the Chargers. And, just life's a constant just fighting adversities, man, and having fun with it. Because, we all got to have fun. Like, we talk about adversity, but at the end of the day, we all got to prolong playing a child's game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes take it for granted. Like, we all got to play at high levels, and we're playing at a child's game. Like, how blessed we are, how fortunate we are. We got to do something that we love at a high level and make an impact. Where now we get to sit on podcasts and talk about it, or go to a camp, or talk to a company, or speak to our youth for you guys, your children, or when I speak to you guys as children, and have that proof of concept that make what we say believable, man. I think that's why we do the things that we do.
That's huge. I rewind back and I think about your journey at Clawson, and like you said, not a traditional football powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at Clawson. When did you start to realize, all right, this football thing could pay the bills for me?
Probably not until. So recruiting was so much different at that time, and I don't know what it was like for you, but
we had VHS tapes.
Yes,
you had to put
full games,
a full game. You couldn't hide anything on there.
No,
they saw a full film.
There were no cut-ups, and there was no arrows pointing to hey, this is me.
Yeah.
Coaches went to games,
and it was so I didn't get recruited. I started being recruited my sophomore year. We played in the state semis in basketball, and at that time it was played in Chrysler Arena. And somebody had run over to tell Coach Lloyd Carr, hey, there's some big guy running around the you might want to take a look at him. And so that was when I got on their radar. I didn't know that until after my junior year of football, when I got a letter in the mail that said, hey, Michigan would like to, is interested in you. Can you set us some film? So I sent a couple of games to him. And it wasn't until my senior year, October 2 of 1993, Michigan's playing Iowa. I was there. I'm Michigan on a visit. That's when Gary Moeller offered me a scholarship, and I was the first commit in next year's class. And now you're looking at it going, hey, kids are committing as freshmen. Some classes are full. If you look at the 2027 class, and you're looking at it going, okay, well, what spots are available? Can I still be recruited? A lot of those classes of 25 kids, 28 kids are already full with 21, 22 commitments.
Yep.
Commitments mean something a little bit different now, but at that time I was their first committed recruit. And then from there, our recruiting class started to fall together. And then I reported in 94 and it was all done at that point. But I mentioned to you guys earlier, I played varsity basketball as a freshman. And all I was looking at that time was an opportunity to go play in college. And if somebody could pay for my school, that was going to be my path to going to school. And so I told my football coach at that time, I'm like, hey, I got to focus on this basketball thing. I'm starting to get attention. I got my first letter as a freshman. I'm not going to play football. And he kept telling me, no, you'll play. And all the way up until the day before my sophomore year, he kept telling me, you're playing. I'm like, Coach, I'm not playing. My girlfriend at the time and I were walking around the mall. And what size shoe do you wear?
15.
15. How hard is it for you to find 15s? If you just walk into a Foot Locker or a Dick's Sporting Goods, can you find a pair of 15s?
No, they stop at 12, 13.
Right. And so even at that time, we're talking back in, this would have been 90. We walked into a Foot Locker and I told my girlfriend at the time, if they got a pair of Nike Sharks in 15, I'll play football.
They did.
Divine intervention.
The Sharks too, the old
Nike
school
Shark,
molded, straight up molded,
yeah.
no screw-ins. They used to make cleats, Chris, that you couldn't screw in the bottom. They were molded at the bottom. I don't know if you remember the Nike Sharks.
Yeah, I remember the Sharks.
All right, that was early in your career, though.
You gotta remember, they make like new series of the Sharks. Like they still make Sharks now.
A size 15.
A size 15. So I walked in and they're like, yeah, we got a pair. And so I played football in here we sit today.
Who would ever have thought that whole story would have started with you just have them having the right pair of cleats at Foot Locker, which was impossible to find cleats at anyway back in the day.
Right.
But the Sharks that was a good find.
It was a great find. And so they worked. And I had a chance to play football. And from there on out, it was in between basketball and football. And Michigan was, they came knocking my junior year and here we are.
What year did you start using the illegal mud cleats in your screw-in cleats? Because
I wore Sharks all the way until my last year in the league.
Really?
Oh yeah. And there was a time when, just because of endorsements, I went with Adidas, but it was still molded shoes. Although in fact, my last 2 years, I wore basketball bottoms, even on grass.
Wow.
Because my lower body was so beat up from the years and wearing moldeds and definitely wearing 7 studs, it wasn't going to work anymore. So at that point, it was all about balance, base, and making sure that I didn't get in any compromising situations.
It's very similar to my footwear right now in slow pitch softball. I usually go turf shoes. I don't go cleats anymore. Body's gotten beat up a little. Mm-hmm. Usually where Chris laughs at me and makes fun of me about my slow pitch career.
I've never made fun of your slow pitch career.
We're 3 former professional athletes here. We can chop it up like that. Play a little pro softball in the conference for a minute. But, you talk about Michigan starting to recruit you. I'm sure you had other offers that came along with that. What drew you to Michigan? Obviously, you're from the state of Michigan. You're a hometown guy. But what drew you to put on that winged helmet?
It's very similar to the experience I've had with Jack being here at CC. When I walked in there, it was all about family. It was all about, they developed guys to be in the NFL, but there was a focus on academics that I didn't see anywhere else. And Chris, you probably experienced this. Like, you walk in as a freshman and you see guys, you walk in as an 18-year-old, and you see guys that are, 22, even 23 years old, and you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to look like that. And I don't know if I can ever block that. So I better focus on my academics and let's just see where this thing goes. But that was always a large part of my focus. And even when I talk on the radio today and you got the transfer portal and you've got all of these different things, I think there are major obstacles the NCAA is not taking into account. And the number one thing is graduation. You spend 4 years at 4 schools. How do you graduate?
Yeah.
And, everybody says, oh, no, it doesn't matter. These guys are making money now. It's not everyone is. Not everyone's going to play at the next level. In fact, it's extremely rare. So when I was being recruited by Michigan, the first thing that they talked to me about is, here is the path to graduation. Here is what we do to make sure that you're making the transition from high school to the college academics. And here's study table, here's training table, here's all of these things that are focused on developing you in every facet. And that's the one thing. When I went to some other schools, and I won't say where they were, but that was a part of the package. But it was, on an official visit, it wasn't until you were just leaving and they said, oh, by the way, here's our academic package. Yep. And for me, that was huge.
It's very similar, like you said, to what we talk about here, because we'll ask kids who come shadow, where are you going? Well, I went to look at this. We tell them, go shadow at other high schools. You won't feel a culture like you're going to feel here. And if they're a student athlete, I'll flat out ask them, at what point during your shadow visit, when they set up a private meeting, did they talk to you about what they're going to do for you academically? 10 kids out of 10, even at the high school level, they don't talk to them about it. And it's like, guys, I'd love to think every kid walking the hallways in every high school is going to get a chance to go play college athletics in some way, shape, or form, or even, co-ed schools, all girls schools. But if you don't, I'll tell them all the time, if your vehicle to get to college is athletics, the keys to start that vehicle are your academics. Mm-hmm. And of course, these, smart Alex here, they're like, what if it's a push to start? I'm like, you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, they always got to answer for everything. Chris, you coming out of here and wasn't the greatest student coming out of CC, went to Hillsdale College where I had to get better as a student. When you came out of here, you weren't an academic All-American, but you ended up being a 2-time academic All-American at Ferris State, right? So for you, when did it click academically? Was it the study skills you got from CC, or did you just finally decide, I got to get the best of both worlds? I want to do well football-wise and athletically, but I know I need to build my own personal brand on the backside with my academics and grades.
I want to say first and foremost, there is not a single institution in the country that prepares you for life like Catholic Central. And so a lot of the best practices I just amassed from my teachers, the assistants, the learning commons. At the time, we had Miss Swandell. It showed you that everything works when there's a system in place. And so the systems I learned here, which is you have to have intentional study time for each subject. And you can't just study when you have a test, right? It's less about studying and it's about learning. And I always tell people, learning is new information, right? Same situation, different result. But if it's new information, same situation, same result, you haven't learned anything. You've simply just been entertained. So when I came here, I made the shift from just being entertained, like just sitting in class and listening to a lecture, or like most people nowadays, they'll listen to a podcast, grit, grind, discipline, face adversity, and then life slaps them in the face and they're back.
They have no idea how to do it. Yeah,
a little weakling. And so I understand that as a man, you must be well balanced, right? So that's what physical, mental, spiritual. And so as I began to grow in maturity, in college, it was like, okay, we're going to go to FCA, we're going to go to our faith groups, okay, and then I'm going to be at the library, okay, and then I'm going to make sure I'm working out. And I knew that I had very big goals. So it was like, all right, we're going to law school, we're going to practice law 5 to 10 years, we're going to get into politics, or you're going to go to the NFL and you're going to start a business, you're going to leverage that and be an author. So I had really, really big goals. And I knew that, when you want to do something that's like top 1% or top 5%, you can't do what the 95 or what the 99 are doing. And so understanding that through just growing as a man and becoming more of a realist, and through listening to the thought leaders that I used to observe, I knew what it'd take, right? I believe that the work is the work and the work must be done. I think so many people, we talk faith, right? We talk belief, we talk looking in the mirror and shouting affirmations, but at the end of the day, like there's just work.
It doesn't change.
That's and once you understand that good things happen when you work becomes a lot more fun. And I began to gain confidence. I always tell people that confidence comes from data, not dopamine, right? Confidence is past positive reflection. So that's looking in the past where you faced something that was difficult and you're able to defeat it. Confidence is consistently being able to look back. This was hard. I kicked its butt and I did it again. And so as I began to just habit stack those wins, it felt good, right? It felt good having a different type of conversation. I mean, we had some hard talks. Hey, Chris, if you don't buckle down, you're not going to qualify, man. If you don't buckle down, hey, JUCO becomes an option, right? If you don't buckle down, all these newfound opportunities, they may not happen. And when you realize that part of being a man is stepping up and doing the right things majority of the time, right? We all have those days, right? We're still figuring out. We're still trying to, deny our flesh every single day. And so I just got to a point where it was like, you're always going to fall off track. But growth is about consistently falling off, then get back on path quicker. And I believe that, as I continue to grow and strive throughout my college process, what I realized is that the time it took when I would fall off track, I would get on faster. And that's just a daily grind of now, right? Well, a rough day, right? Don't let a cheat meal turn into a cheat week, right? Don't let a sore day off from the gym turn into 2 or 3 months without lifting, right?
The cheat meal one gets tough.
Yeah.
Because I can spiral out of control real quick.
And I think this is one of the things you've probably done this, and Aaron, I know you've done this. This was a part of when I went to Michigan and why I decided to go to Michigan. It was the people, Mike DeBoard, Bobby Morrison, Lloyd Carr, Gary Moeller at the time.
Strength coach at the time was?
Mike Gittleson, who was one of the
Legend.
Greatest individuals, let alone one of the greatest strength coaches. But it was, and I learned at that time about surrounding yourself with really good people. And when I left to go to Ann Arbor, my dad said, we sat down and he talked about, decisions I was going to have to make, things I would see, maybe I hadn't been exposed to in high school. And he said, I'm really comfortable with you going, because he had gotten to know my position coach at the time, Mike DeBoard. And I think he is a good man who will take what we've done over the last 18 years. My job's not done, but over the last 18 years, now you're going to go be with those guys. And it was very much, and I was very fortunate to grow up in a city where I had those things with my high school football coach and teachers and counselors. In sending Jack here, it was very much the same thing, where I knew in the decision to send him to CC that when he wasn't at home, he was going to be surrounded by individuals that had very common goals to him, whether it was in the athletic department with you, Aaron, or with Coach Sasante, and every single coach that I met, with the teachers that I met here, the counselors, everyone, it was, okay, my job's not done, but he's going to be here from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night. Who is he going to be around?
Yeah.
And I wanted him to be around those good people that had, especially in today's day and age, the same values that they were going to instill in him that I instill in him at home.
Well, you touched on it earlier too. You know, one thing that I would say the toughest thing about working in this building is we give them so much positivity during the day. We talk to them about, you name it, everything from, you know, substance abuses that are out there to catfishing online to all this crazy stuff that they deal with on the internet. And we tell them all the time, guys, we can armor you up as much as possible in this building and all the way up through practice. But when you leave here, we can't protect you. We have to make sure that you're in it. Whatever we do here is an extension of what you're doing at home.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to make sure that we're all working together to make sure these kids on the outside, once they leave this place or once they leave your house, they're able and they're equipped to survive. Because it's only getting crazier out there. We didn't even have social media when we were in college, thank God, cell phones with barely even cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we might have got at the tail end of our collegiate careers.
Yeah, I got a flip phone when I was going to the draft. So I would have been
And it was
23 at the time. Yeah. And there was didn't take pictures.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to text, I'd have to go ABC, DEF.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
the
I mean,
old school style.
Yeah, old school. So, yeah, we didn't have.
Once the BlackBerry came out, that's when I hit my stride on texting. That took me to the next level.
BlackBerry.
But yeah, we didn't have those. We didn't have those challenges. We didn't have those other pressures from everywhere around the world, not just the communities we lived in or the communities we were putting ourselves in, but now it literally will come from anywhere around the world.
I think that's the biggest disservice to these kids is they're constantly comparing themselves to what. It doesn't matter if it's in athletics, it's how somebody else looks. When you know damn well somebody posts a picture, there's 25 filters on it.
Yeah.
If I could find a way to filter out the gray hair in my beard, I'll put in a photo on ChatGPT. It makes me look like I'm 85 years old. Like I can't. And if I do one with him, it makes me look like he's 7 times bigger than me. So
Yeah.
I gotta quit doing that. But you talk about what drew you to Michigan, and Chris and I talk about it all the time. Our return on our investment for the two of us, and even for Steven, is the relationships that we build. It's the people. You couple that with a university and a program that has so much storied tradition. What did it mean to you to become part of that tradition and to put that helmet on the first time? Because you hear everything about that winged helmet, and there's only one of them. I mean, I know Delaware kind of, sort of, but there's one winged helmet. That's Michigan. When you put that thing on, when you first got it, how much pride did that give you, and what excited you about being part of that tradition and building upon it?
I mean, you start thinking about the history and the guys that wore the winged helmet, the guys that wore your number, your jersey, or the moments that happened in the big house. Now you get a chance to be a part of that. And it was, I mean, I felt unbelievable excitement the first time I got a chance to run out of the tunnel, even though I knew I had no chance of playing on the field. And then the first time that you run out and you have that chance that you're starting, you're going to get some time. And it's about making those guys that had come from, before you, that understood what it took to actually get on the field, what it took to actually wear the uniform.
The sacrifice.
Just to be able to live up to their standards, and then to try and raise those standards so that the next guy, the Jake Long that comes along, is looking at who wore 77, what did he do, and how do I measure up to him? Like that, it's just a continuation, and you're always hoping that you're there for that next guy. And I'm so blessed to be able to be on staff with the athletic department, because now I get a chance to see all of those guys, and I get a chance to take what I experienced, what I learned, what Michigan means to me, and the fact that as a player, my coaches were coaches, and I didn't realize how much of a mentor they were to me until after I was no longer there. And when I would call them up for issues going on in my life, Coach, you got just a second. And they would drop everything they were doing and the amount of guys, the amount of times their phone would ring, and for them to find time to be able to talk to me, help me through a situation, or praise me even if I didn't call them up. And like, they were always there. Former players were always there. Now I try and be that guy, even though coaches are still there for me. It's that cycle of what Michigan meant to me, what help I got when I got there, still getting it now, but also trying to pour that back into the guys that are on the current roster.
When they did starting lineups for both you guys, did they announce your hometown when you were starting? If they announced you before the game?
Oh, in Michigan, they didn't announce before the game. They do it on the big board now.
Do they? So at Hillsdale, they would always say, starting wherever from Dearborn Heights, Michigan. I always got such a rush out of them saying my hometown because there wasn't a lot of guys from Dearborn Heights that were playing college football. Yeah. No real college athletes. Same thing for you, probably coming from the Clawson area. You just took a little bit more pride in that too. Chris, I know you're the same, but I always felt like I was representing not only Catholic Central when they would say what school I was from, but my whole family. I knew, my last name meant that much to me that I wanted to take my last name to Hillsdale like you did at Michigan, Chris, like you did at Ferris and everywhere else you've gone, and just make everyone around me that believed in me insanely proud. You talk about your number at Michigan now. I kind of do it here. I don't know if Chris does it, but I always, like, my number at CC was 76. So I always kind of like, all right, who's got my number? Like, are they going to be able to, do you find yourself doing that at Michigan?
Absolutely.
Like, all right, said this guy, I don't know if he can wear 77.
There's no question. And
no offense to the current number 77. This is just a general question.
The current 77 is Blake Frazier, and his dad was one of my teammates.
Oh.
So it was unbelievably special to me knowing him from basically the time he was born. And they lived in Texas, watching him grow up in pictures and talking to Steve about his son, that he would go to Michigan and then request 77 because he knew what it meant. That to me, I mean, it somewhat brings tears to my eyes, knowing that all of the legends that happen after you leave and the stories that happen, they always grow bigger and they're always mostly true. That he would come to Michigan being an offensive tackle and want to wear that number. To me, that means everything. And to watch him get a chance to start in the Michigan State game this year and get a chance to watch him learn, make mistakes, and then be that guy of the 77s that helped me along the way. Now I'm that for him. It means so much more.
That your tradition just keeps carrying on.
What number were you in at Hillsdale?
57.
So you always rock the sevens then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I tried to go single digit on the defensive line when I started at D tackle for 2 years, and they're like,
You're the original zero?
Yeah, there's no. He wore number 1 at Ferris at 390 pounds. He looked like freshman year.
So, okay, explain to me.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this one.
Why has that become a thing? The single digits for the big fellas.
So I'll say for me, and I mean, Steven and you both can probably test this. I'm just very anti-establishment. And so for me, I came from a very, very strict, staunch, conservative high school where like there were no single digits and you couldn't
we didn't have single digits when he was here.
You couldn't wear socks and you couldn't wear gloves and you couldn't drink water. And so for
allegedly on the water, we don't want to, we give water breaks. They're built into our practice plans.
For me, man, wearing number 1, for me was like just like being edgy. Like, when you come from
I get it. Yeah.
I was a guy walking around a college campus with a chastity ring on and tucked in polos and button-up shirts, and people would tell me that I looked like Uncle Phil from Phil. I would get like Carlton. I was a guy that was just so steeped in.
I haven't heard the Uncle Phil one yet. That's a classic.
I always said people it's like when you go to CC, they assume everyone here has money, but that's not always true. And so like my only clothes I had was khakis and was CC dress code. And so it was like my first year of college. That was what I wore every day.
But you didn't, here's the thing though, you didn't come in, they didn't know you were going to wear number 1. So that jersey was probably for somebody who should have worn number 1 that you squeezed into.
So, the number 1
there was no chance they had a 2X waiting for him at number 1.
So fun fact. So the guy that was recruiting me at the time, that was part of my deal. I'm like, I got to wear number 1. And so when we got to picture day, because obviously, like, I think the last person that wore was like a 160-pound slot.
Right.
And so for picture day, That time I'm like a freshman prima donna, so I'm like, whoa, where's my number 1 jersey at? The equipment team had to stitch together because my jersey hadn't came in yet. So they had to make a makeshift number 1 jersey for picture day until we got until we got like an Under Armour deal and everything had came in. But it was so funny because his face was like, bro, that's why like when we talking about like NIL, when we talking about like Flash, and if you see his son in his swag.
Hold on, we're not talking about
swag. What swag?
My 10-year-old does go a little bit too far.
Cam Newton swag out there, and I love it because I'm like, as an uncle, I love it because it's like an uncle thing. Like, we
go get shoes. We go get shoes for the playoffs. He has to get the pink Adidas shoes for the playoffs, and I'm like, it's your birthday money. Go ahead, you're paying for them.
Yeah,
that was a lax, bro. A lot of my swag is like more like that East Coast. 5-inch seams. I like pastels. I like neons. I like vibrant colors.
Did you go visor too?
I'm not gonna let you egregiously lie on this podcast again and say you were a lax bro. You played for 1 season. You immersed yourself in the culture quickly. Chris was so much of a lax bro. He'd walk around doing the fake cradle like he had a lacrosse stick in the hallway, and I'm like, what are you doing? We did have the nicest gear that year. Also why I thought Honestly, you joined the lacrosse team.
Look, I always tell people, like, man, like, what are your obsession with lacrosse? And once again, being anti-establishment, coming from where I came from, like, right, I'm like coming from the west side of Detroit. I did middle school in Wayne Westland for 2 years, but I primarily grew up on the west side of Detroit. I had never seen anything like it. You see a bunch of preppy boys on the field. They're hitting people. They're juking people. They got on all these cool colors.
Hitting people with sticks.
Yeah, hitting people with sticks. And I thought it was like I thought they had so much swag, you know what I'm saying? And so I always and I think a big part of you talk about culture. You're talking about looking up to the older guys. I think we just had a lot of studs or guys who I thought were cool when I was a freshman and they were seniors, where I was like, man, I kind of want to be like those. Yeah, like Mike Burney and Connor Schwalm, and you had all Trevor.
These are all guys who are like 160 pounds that just fly all over the place. Crazy stick skills.
Trevor Kowalski. It was like a bunch of when you're a freshman, you see the guys they're big and tall, and they're wheeling and dealing, getting the ladies, and allegedly. So I thought they were cool, and the common denominator was they all played lacrosse. And so I was like, and then my best friends, you had Jack, Connor, Mark, Sean Burney, Andrew Hendricks. All my buddies were playing lacrosse, and I was the youngest in my class. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm always willing to try. I mean, ask Steven. I'm a freaking esports coach. I'm always down to try.
I won't throw the allegedly in on that.
Yeah. What I took away from that is he played lacrosse because chicks dig it.
Basically, that was part of it. And we had these winter camo shorts that were beautiful, sublimated shorts. Probably the nicest things we've ever designed.
Why haven't we ran those back, Coach? What's up,
we used all the material making your size 4X shorts. That's why they didn't have any left.
Hey, scratch that allegedly. Scratch that from the record.
But it is, you talk about trying new things. John, you talked about it. You wanted to be a basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, and I've seen some of the size in your family as your brother last year at one of our lacrosse games. John's brother, equally as tall, comes over. You the AD at Catholic Central. I'm looking up at the 6'7" dude. Like,
big redhead.
I'm like, I don't know who's asking. He had baby blue on, so I felt a little bit more at ease at the time. He's like, my nephew's over there. I'm like, let me guess, you're part of the Jansen family. But you talked about it. You were a basketball player that fell into football. Phenomenal career at Michigan, national championship. You get drafted. Great career with the Redskins. Phenomenal people around you there. I love hearing you tell your stories about your time in Washington as well. When did you finally start to realize that the tail end of your career was coming quicker than you probably thought? And how tough was it for you to make that decision and let the game of football go? As a player, because you never really let it go. But
I was going to say, I'm still waiting for the phone to ring. And so if it rang today, I would be.
You just said you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. If it rang today and somebody said, hey, you want to see?
I guarantee.
I guarantee I'd be right there. But so my entire career, I knew, and this comes from my coaches, right? And they knew, hey, you're going to have a chance to play. My junior, my fourth year, and certainly my fifth year when I was at Michigan, they started to prepare me for, you're going to have a chance to play at the next level. if that doesn't work out, or if injury, or if, it was always a what if, what are you going to do? And so the moment I left Michigan, I knew that I wanted to stay involved in the game. And by the time I was done coaching from where my family was, coaching wasn't an option. But my entire career, I always had a radio show, TV show. I'd talk to the media any chance I got. I would ask them, hey, I did this interview. What'd you think? Not just of what I said or how it played for your clips, but how did I handle the interview? And I was always preparing for what I'm doing now. And that's, to be the voice of Michigan football, have a morning radio show. And it's just a matter of, I needed more reps. I needed more time. And I knew going through that entire process, especially as closer I got to the end of my career, that was the path that I wanted to chase. And so making the transition, I wasn't leaving the game. I was just going to be a part of the game in a different way.
Yeah. So that makes it a little bit easier.
It does. And I mean, on the difficult side, right? It's always, and Chris, I'm sure you see this too. Like you watch a game and you're like, I could do that. I could do that better. And eventually you get to a certain age, and it's really just, I'm the only one saying that I could do that better. And that's why the phone hasn't rang. But it's the player never leaves you. And that's where I've poured my life into my kids, not trying to win championships through them, but to develop that competitive nature, to allow them to chase their dreams in regards to whether it's athletics, academics, it doesn't matter. But a lot of the lessons that I learned, I tell them stories all the time, not just to tell them stories about, how great dad was. There's other people that'll tell them those stories.
Do they know? Let's be honest. Do the kids know?
I don't know. I don't know if they know the true
greatness of their father. Listen,
well, no, not the true greatness. I don't know if they know. I wanted to play long enough so that my kids remembered that I played. And my oldest girls remember some of those moments. I don't think Jack remembers it at all. He was like 1 when I was done playing football. So he certainly, unless he has a great memory, he doesn't remember.
He's a Jansen.
Seen the videos.
He's a Jansen. So who knows?
Yeah. But it's just a matter of like you always feel like there's something you can give to the sport, the team, the university, the school, whatever it is. And it just, throughout the course of your life, those things that you can give change.
Well, you hit on a one that I want to cover, because you said you removed yourself from the game of football. You're involved in a different way. Now you say you watch the new players and you figure, I can do it better. So you told me a story this year where you were at Michigan during a workout. One of the linemen challenged you to deadlift, I think it was.
Well,
I'll let you tell the story. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's this
as you adjust your back. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's this kind of the standard, right? Where and guys in that are 18 to 30 years old, right? For them, if they've been in football or if they've been in any competitive sports, it's probably not that big of a challenge, but it's the 1,000-pound challenge, right? And it's deadlift, squat, and bench press. And so they said, being that I'm turning 50 in
congratulations.
January. Thank you. I'm not there yet.
Take it easy.
Odds are good, but
you have to respect your elders in here. I am 50 now, so go ahead.
Can you still lift 1,000 pounds in those 3 lifts? And I'm doing the math in my head, and I know it's going to be tight. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, well, if I do, if I could put up 300 once on the bench, and if I could squat 300, could I bench 400? Or could I deadlift 400? I'm like, I think I could do it. Straight bar. I think I could do that. So we started with the bench, and I got the 300. I'm like, okay, all right.
Fired up. You're like, all right, I'm feeling good.
I'm jacked up. And then I did the squat. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to reserve my last rep in case I need to do more. So I did the 300, so I'm at 600. And I'm like, now all I got to do is deadlift 400. And so I do all the things that guys do, right, to get pumped up and ready to go.
When's the last time you deadlifted 400 pounds?
Eat those smelling slots.
Years. I don't even know how many years, but it's been years since I even looked at it.
Did you warm up?
Oh yeah, I was warming.
Right,
like this is you have to do it all at the same time.
All right, good.
So I was ready to go, and certainly I'm looking at it, and there's a couple of guys standing around, right, that these young guys. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I know that they can do this. I'm banking on the fact that when they turn 50, which is, I'll be 80 at that time, I'm going to be around and I'm going to come back when they're there on a reunion and say, all right, now it's
your turn.
And see if you could do it. And yeah, I mean, how do I put this best without, I did raise the weight. And as soon as I was done, without them knowing it, I instantly regretted it. Because you saw me walking around for, a week and a half. I couldn't stand up straight. My back was all jacked up. But
you did it. You did the weight.
I did it.
I think one of the funniest things that you spoke about, just to add to your wisdom, man, was when we all, you watch film, you're watching the game, you're like, I could do that. It takes me back to this funny locker room story, and I'm from a guy who got drafted and undrafted guy, and another guy who chased the dream with us is.
Thank you for putting it like that. I appreciate that.
Is that the craziest thing ever? Is we've all been in situations where you're sitting at home, your phone's not ringing, but someone that you may think you're better than gets signed or gets picked up. Right? We've all been there. And I mean, you were a second round draft pick, so maybe not as much for you, but I know AB or maybe you may. This guy he told me, he goes, when someone gets picked up, and you're like, man, why are they signing that guy? I mean, who is he? He was like, you know what's funny? I said, well, he goes, soon as you get signed, there's gonna be someone saying, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Why they sign him? And so you had brought that up. It was so funny because that changed my whole entire perspective on professional sports. Is that and even the high school level is somebody gets an offer, and that's why
it happens all the time with these guys.
You know what I'm saying?
Holy cow.
There's always someone that's gonna think that you suck, and I think that's why one of the messages that I push to our young men, and I push to everyone that's chasing their dream and in their field is that, man, it only just takes one person to believe in you.
It does.
It only just takes one. And just touch on self-awareness. I'm a big self-awareness person. At what point, right? We talked about when I realized about how important is self-awareness when it comes on the sports journey, right? At what point, from a self-awareness standpoint, did you begin to weigh the pros and cons, or look at the man in the mirror and kind of decide, all right, I'm a football player, or I'm this, or I'm that? Just touch on self-awareness for me.
I think self-awareness is vital to understanding what you're capable of doing. And when I was coming out, and it was all in, and you went through this, right? It's where you're going to be drafted, right? And some people will say, oh, you're a lock for the first round. And I was self enough aware to know that, okay, I'm looking at these teams and their needs and some other guys that are in the draft, and being a right tackle versus a left tackle there was a bigger discrepancy at that time in regards to where you were going to be drafted, and it's tackles, guards, centers, right? It kind of goes all the way down where you're drafted. And so I was very self-aware at the time in regards to, I was 37th pick overall, and it was early second round.
Yep.
I knew that I would go somewhere late first, early second. And it would take somebody that, maybe one person fell in love with me at the combine or at pro day or something that would get me into the first round. Other than that, I was self-aware enough that I was probably going to be in the second round. And I think the self-awareness, I don't want to say it protects you, but it somewhat protects you from disappointment. Because if I went into it going, I should be the number one tackle, I should be the first guy off the board. The Detroit Lions, they're taking Aaron Gibson? Really? But it also is a chance to self-motivate, where I knew that there were some people that liked some of the things that he did, or Tate, the guy that was at BYU, and he get taken by the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the first tackle off the board, John Tate. I'm looking at all of these guys going, all right, but when it's all said and done, who's going to have the longer career? Who's going, what does that say? Being taken in the first round, it was a step in the right direction for success, but it wasn't.
It's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee. And so I just wanted my foot in the door. And I think as you go, the self-awareness of it helps you understand what you're not good at. And knowing that I was a really good run blocker, but I had some holes in my game in pass protection. By year 2, those holes weren't as many.
Yeah.
By year 3, the holes that I had in year 2 weren't as many. And it takes being self-aware not to just sit there and go, well, I should be the best tackle in the NFL. If you believe that, or if you think that, you're probably not doing the work to eventually get to what your full potential was or should be.
Yeah, that's honestly a great. I feel like when I got done at Hillsdale, went to tryouts for the CFL, had a couple Arena League offers, and I'm like, my first job is going to be making way more than that. I really struggled with that self-awareness. I knew who I was, I knew who I wanted to become, but as a football player, I wasn't ready to let it go, and I really struggled with it because I was like, all right, maybe there's a CFL team that'll pick me up. Well, they keep all Canadian linemen. So when I finally had to realize that my football playing days were done, I really struggled with it. Luckily, I threw myself into coaching right away, and it completely filled that void because I went into sales. I didn't know. I took one broadcasting class at Hillsdale, which I loved. I wish I would have segued that into something else, but I really struggled with that self-awareness and figuring out, how do I stay part of a game that I love, knowing that my playing days are completely over? And I think that's a trap. You talk about the draft or whatever a player thinks he's ranked in the state. I mean, it's mental warfare, especially nowadays. And if you're not equipped to handle it, it's a tough slippery slope. Some of your favorite memories, not necessarily from your teammates, but from your experience just in the game of football. Give me some of your favorite memories.
Wow. God, there's so many of them. And it's the game of football has allowed me to create relationships and be in the same room with people that I would never have met in any other way. And so when I think about the memories, it's 9 years of being the roommate of a long snapper. He was on the field when Buffalo and Houston, the old Oilers, with the, what do they call it? The
Music City Miracle.
Music City Miracle. And I guess it's Tennessee at the time. But it's like, it's sharing those stories with those guys. It's just, my favorite memories aren't what happened on the field, but they're the moments that happened in the locker room, at the hotels, on the team bus, on the team plane. And it's the moments where all of those guys that are famous worldwide, that they're just human beings. And you said it earlier, we're playing a game. I was 33, 34 years old, being paid a lot of money to play a game. And I'm loving every single minute of it because, and to this day, like when you listen to me on the radio, like we have a very similar sense of humor. Most people think I haven't progressed past the age of 8. And I don't ever know that I want to go past that.
Keeps you young.
It keeps you young. And laughter is a huge part of, I think, of health, being able to laugh at yourself, being able to laugh at moments. But all of those things, we went to Japan. I would have never gone to Japan unless it was for the Redskins playing the San Francisco 49ers.
Thought you were Godzilla walking around Japan, right, yeah. As tall as you are.
But it's those moments, and it's the moments walking around Japan where I'm totally a fish out of water, and so is everybody else on our team.
Yeah.
But it's that experience. That wasn't the game, and it wasn't the season that followed. It was those moments that I was able to share with my best friends.
That's a perfect segue into the final segment of the House of Hammers podcast. This is another one people love because I just put him on the spot. I made Chris go first last week, so I won't. I caught him way off guard. But and I always make a joke, for the 5 people that are going to end up watching this, the 5,000, 5 million, I don't care. It's the same fire, the same message, the same motivation. Give the listeners a takeaway with something that will motivate them, something that will help them be better, that will help them wake up in the morning and be thankful for another chance to start over at zero.
You're always going to be faced with challenges. And that's really honestly what makes life so great. It's the challenges that you don't meet when you're 24, but you can meet when you're 29. It's the challenges of tearing an Achilles and being out for an entire season. How do you come back from that? Is that a career ender? or when you're laying on the field and you look at your foot and it's pointed backwards. How do you come back from that? Now, everybody's challenges aren't going to be, I'm just using some of the ones that I had. They're all going to be different, but you're going to be faced with challenges on every single day. So how do you take on those challenges? How do you prepare for those moments that you can't prepare for? And I tell this to people all the time. Today is Monday. What is it? December the 8th. What am I doing today? What's the one hard thing that I can do today that might help me prepare for a challenge tomorrow? Do hard things every day. It might be physical. And for me, the challenge is, hey, my job, I got to be there at 4:30 in the morning. And it was 12 degrees when I woke up this morning. I still got to go for my run. And maybe that is the one hard thing that I did today, but I can look at everyone else and say, I bet you wouldn't do that. And it prepares me mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually for the job that I have to do. And it's the hard thing that I had to do today. Sometimes it's a hard phone call, or it's being a dad, it's having a hard conversation with your kids, whether it's the phone, it's social media, it's something that went on at school, but it's doing those hard things on a daily basis so that when the true challenges come in life, you have all the tools. You may not know at the moment how you're going to take that on, but you have all of that history built up of taking on and doing hard things. This is just the next one.
I love it. We talk about it all the time. Coach Hancock's a big proponent of doing hard things and learning how to do them well. Chris, what do you got for us?
I mean, dude, I love do hard things, man. I'm so big on, man, do the work because the work needs doing. I would say in a world full of ego and bravado and fake posturing yourself up with something that you're not, build real confidence, right? Build a real undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are and that you can do what you claim you can do. I'm tired of the posturing. I'm tired of the highlights. We live in a world, we're talking about vanity metrics. People are always comparing themselves. What does the next man have? What does the next man have going on? Focus on yourself. Focus on getting better, right? And I always define focusing on getting better as taking accountability, right? Cultivating and developing self-awareness and controlling the controllables. I believe that is ultimately how you build confidence, and that is how you begin to just start the journey of becoming the man that you seek to become, right? And when you become the man that you seek to become, that man will always donate to the 1928 club.
Chris will always slide it. Just when
well done.
It's so smooth. He does it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but the 1928 club drop will always get slid in at some point during the podcast. He's so smooth with it.
Man, you gotta have it.
John, you hit on it, and I was thinking about this because I don't really prepare like speeches or even something like this. I liked it to be really organic to where we just play off each other. But you talked about the journey. And one thing I'm big on here, and this is the advice I'd like to give people out there, enjoy the journey. Don't be focused on the outcome. If you're focused on the outcome consistently, you're going to miss every little detail of that beautiful journey that gets you to whatever desired outcome there is. And you might not achieve that desired outcome, but if you focus on the little things that lead you there, the work, the relationships, your faith, your mental health, your diet, whatever it might be, build your armor to make sure that you're there to do the work, to make sure that you're enjoying every second of the journey. I talked to our teams about it. If football wouldn't have won the state championship this year, I would have been just as proud of them because great coaches, great mentors, great kids who did it right. They served in the community. They're servant leaders. So for me, that's the real championship. But the fact that they were able to raise that trophy shows me that they loved every moment of the journey. But like I said, even if they didn't raise that trophy, I would have been damn proud of them. So my advice to all of you, enjoy the journey, put the work in, do hard things. Remember that offensive linemen are the most intelligent and best looking on the football team. They also set the standard. Chris, you were a lineman. We'll welcome you into our, we'll get you a playbook that's written or typed up, not one in crayon.
Double-digit number.
Double-digit number.
You know what's funny? The crazy thing about it, I mean, you guys can definitely attest to this, is that modern day football, though, like the defensive line playbook is not as simple as it once used to be. especially any defense that sucks, it's probably because it's way too overcomplicated.
This is where I get to use this one. Allegedly.
Yeah.
We re-allegedly do.
Okay, I'm telling you, back when we were in high school, especially if you played Tom Mack football or you played at Ferris State, when I went to Cincy, it was like I had to like read where like the receivers' strengths were. I had to like drop. Like it's not as simple as people think it is, man. Especially like that 3-4 end. Come on, man.
You know you're not going to gain any ground with the two of us here.
3-4 end, you two gapping. Come on, man. Yeah, I got this two gaps. I got the A gap and B gap.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're two gapping, yes, but we gotta just play B gap.
I gotta collapse on a double team. Oh no.
All right, you got whatever.
Yeah, you're not getting anything here. So we figured we solved the world's problems in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Do hard things, enjoy the journey, pour into your relationships, play on the line somewhere if you want to be a grown man in the game of football. And when all else fails, first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Chris. I have a blast doing this with you every week. I send John all these stupid little quirky texts when he's on the radio from him riding around with the Livonia Police Department with my cousin. Not sure if we can say that on the podcast, but it was a crazy, just out of the ordinary, just link that we have between each other. But you fit in perfectly at this place. Your competitive nature, your knowledge of what it takes to be just a good human. I don't care about the football knowledge. The knowledge of what you bring, of what it takes to be a good human being, a good father, a good husband, and just a good man. To me and to Chris and to Steven here too, that's more than anything you could give back to this place at Catholic Central. And now the fact that you're sharing your son with us, it's unbelievable. So we welcome you to this family. You're a lifelong Shamrock for the rest of your life. We appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the House of Hammers on behalf of Michigan legend, Washington Redskins legend, and I still will call them that because that's what they were when you played for them.
Amen.
97.1, the ticket legend, and the new voice, not new voice, but the voice of Michigan football, our guest, Jon Jansen. And as always, Chris Okoye. Ladies and gentlemen, when all else fails, be great, go all in on relationships, and keep hammering. Thank you.